company that has been very popular amongst the retail community is Salesforce, ticker symbol CRM. Year to date, this stock is down by over 26%, while over the last year, the stock has fallen by 12%. It reached an all-time high of around $370 per share back in December of 2024, and from that point till now, the stock is down by almost 34%. But Salesforce is a stock that has gone through a number of periods of volatility over the last 5 years. The most notable was back in 2022 when the stock fell from around $310 per share all the way down to around $130 per share, which represented a decline of about 60%. They also experienced some volatility back in 2024, where the stock fell by around 25% in just a matter of a few months. But what exactly does Salesforce actually do? So their ticker symbol is CRM. CRM is a term used within business, and it stands for Customer Relationship Management. So that is what Salesforce is actually specializing in doing. They are producing tools that can be used by a number of different companies to manage their relationships with their customers. But what exactly is customer relationship management? Well, something a lot of people are familiar with is email marketing. So Salesforce is able to help businesses drive email marketing campaigns, and they use different data based off what the customers are actually buying, where they're located, other information that they're able to collect to actually target these email marketing campaigns for different products that customers are most likely to purchase. However, the part of Salesforce's business that has been getting the most attention recently is their Agentforce business. What this actually does is it allows their customers to actually create their own agents to execute very normal tasks. An example of this is what we are seeing here. Everyone has been on a website and seen those little text boxes pop up in the bottom right hand corner with someone looking to help you as you kind of navigate the website. What they are showing here is that you can actually create an agent that can help customers determine different things and different information that they might need. In this example, it's helping a customer actually set up an appointment on the website. Here's another example of this in action. So this is AT&T's website. I don't know if they're actually using Salesforce or not, but you can see I asked the website how much is a new iPhone. So they gather some data. I'm asking for wireless, and they give me a list of certain retail prices. So the retail price of the iPhone 17 is around $829.99, but with eligible trade-ins, it can be as low as $0 per month. So ultimately, again, these chatbots are able to help customers answer certain questions that they have without actually interacting with a real human being. But the big question on investors' minds is how big of a growth factor is this side of the business actually going to be? Because in the second quarter, which they announced their results for the second quarter on September 3rd of 2025, so a little less than a month ago, they had a revenue of $10.2 billion, which was up 10% year over year. 10% year over year for revenue growth is not a bad number, but for Salesforce, we'll see here in a minute, they have been consistently growing by around 20+%. So 10% revenue growth is actually low for this company. Even though revenue growth is up only 10% year over year, what we are seeing from certain aspects of Salesforce's business is higher growth pockets. And specifically, that pocket comes in their data cloud and AI business. Its annual recurring revenue is now sitting at over $1.2 billion, which is up 120% year over year. And the reason for this fast growth comes back to Agentforce. The company has now closed over 12,000 deals within this area of the business, with over 6,000 of those deals being paid. But again, investors will want to see this growth continue, and not only continue, they will want to see it accelerate and the Agentforce side of their business to become a much larger segment of their total revenue. Right now, trailing 12-month total revenue is sitting at $39.5 billion. That is up only 9.7% year over year. And what we have seen, again, looking back at 2022 and over the past 10 years, most most of the time they have been able to grow their top line by around 20 to 25%. However, in the last year and a half, we have seen growth rates fall to around 10%. The good thing is, over that same time period, the business has shifted their focus from high top line growth to actually getting to a very stable state in terms of bottom line EPS numbers. What we could see is their trailing 12-month EPS is now sitting at $6.88. And over the past year and a half, they have consistently put up quarterly EPS numbers of anywhere between $1.25 all the way up to the most recent quarter when they put up $1.96 of EPS. It's very clear looking at their revenue growth, how it's kind of changed over the last couple of years, their EPS numbers and how those have changed over the last couple of years. And then it's especially clear when you look at their shares outstanding over the last few years. This is a company that is going through a transition from being a high growth company to focusing on their bottom line. And a lot of this likely has to do with macroeconomic conditions. If we see interest rates come down, we might see CRM actually look at investing more and more money into their business, and they could get back to revenue growth of 20%. However, right now, this is a company that is clearly focusing on returning value to investors. And we are seeing all of the classics from Salesforce. One of the most notable in terms of what happens to a company when they go through this transition is a compression of valuation, because we're talking about a company that went from very high growth numbers to now growing by around 9% even. So what we have seen over the course of the last year is this compression of valuation. Forward PE ratios have gone from around 30 to now sitting at a 21.46. But let's look forward and estimate what could happen to this company over the next couple of years. First, let's see what analysts are expecting. So analysts in 2026 are expecting EPS of $11.35. That is up from $10.20 of EPS in 2025. In 2027, they have EPS expectations of $12.70. So there's some decent growth there for bottom line numbers, around 10% over the next couple of years. And that's pretty in line with their expectations for revenue growth. Revenue in 2026, they're expecting to grow by around 8.8% to $41.24 billion. And then in 2027, they have revenue growth of 9.13% to $45.01 billion. When we look at analyst expectations over the next couple of years, there are clearly three different stories that analysts are expecting to play out. The first is the bearish scenario. In this scenario, EPS is flat over the next 2 years, and they put up EPS in 2027 of around $11.37. At that point, the company is probably trading for a P/E ratio between 15 and 20. That would put their stock price between $170 and $227 per share. There is a scenario where that happens. In my opinion, what I think we need to see is a lot of pulling back in terms of marketing spend and other things. And if those companies actually pull back on Salesforce, it seems very integratable into their business. And the fact that reoccurring revenue is increasing so quickly, I don't necessarily think that this is very likely, but I do think what the company will likely do is put up inline numbers with analyst expectations. That is obviously going to be the most likely scenario. That would be $12.70 of EPS by 2027. That would be about 12% growth. And at that point, they should really trade in line with the market, which could be anywhere between a 20 and a 25 PE ratio, which would result in a stock price between $250 per share and $320 per share. So in my opinion, there's really a 20% chance that this bearish scenario plays out. There's a 50% chance of this inline scenario playing out, and then a 30% chance of the bullish scenario playing out. And the bullish scenario on this company is them putting up around $13.90 of EPS by 2027. that would be growth of about 22.5% from 2025 through till 2027. And if they're doing this as well as they are putting up revenue growth rates that are higher than what we are seeing now, let's say 15 to 20%, this company could command a valuation between 30 and 35. And at that valuation and this EPS of $13.90, we could see a stock price between $420 per share and $485 per share. But of course, I am just some random guy on YouTube, so don't buy a company just because I talked about it. Make sure you are doing your own research. I personally do not own any shares of Salesforce in any of my portfolios. This is the YouTube portfolio, and right now it is sitting at a total value of around $80,000. The companies I do hold within my portfolio are Google, Supermicrocomputer, United Health Group, AMD, SoFi, Microsoft, Oscar Health, Adobe, Alibaba, Novo Nordisk, PayPal, Abercrombie and Fitch, United States Lime and Mineral, Zeta, Estee Lauder, Four, as well as Hawkins. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Do you think Agentforce is going to grow into the growth vector that investors are expecting, or what do you think is going to happen with this company? They've obviously seen a tremendous amount of volatility, and I think into the future we could see that continue. But if we see things kind of trend in the right direction, that could be volatility to the upside. Because if we see this continued expansion of the Agentforce side of their business, I think we could see higher highs for this company in the near future. But again, that's just my opinion. Right now, as I said, I don't own any shares, and I don't really plan to add any to my portfolio, but you never know. If this stock falls into that 170 range, then I think there's a good chance to add this company, because at that point, there could be a clear double, if not triple up over the next few years. But right now, it's just kind of in an in-between range. So I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, drop a like on the video and subscribe for more videos like this one. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.